Hello and welcome to Does God Exist? The podcast, or some people calling it the Godcast. Now, this is called Does God Exist? And at some points during this episode or some of the episodes, I might actually refer to the podcast as Opium of the Masses. But we have changed the name because we decided that that was a terrible name. So it's actually called Does God Exist? So if you hear me say Opium of the Masses at any point in this episode or other episodes, just ignore that. This podcast is called Does God Exist? Okay, hello and welcome to another episode of Opium of the Masses with myself, Jack Hester. And today we have a very special guest. We have the wonderful Vlad Ilich. Have I said Ilich right?
Yes,
I've
that
said
is correct.
Ilich right. Yeah. And Vlad is the 2025 British Comedian of the Year.
Way.
Of the year, Vlad. Now, this will be broadcast in 2026, but it's been very recent. You've just, a couple of days ago.
A couple of days ago was the grand final at the Comedy Store. And beyond my wildest dreams.
And come here and I ask you, when you did your set, and as you were doing your set and as you finished your set, did you think to yourself, I've won this?
Well, I felt an immediate connection with the crowd. So right from the get-go. It's one of those gigs where it's going well, and then it just keeps going, and then at one point you're like, okay, it has to come down somewhere.
Right.
But it was just one of those rare lucky moments where it just keeps climbing up and it never stops.
Brilliant.
I had a bit of a smug look on my face
when you get because those competitions are like, I've done them before, and you can know within seconds whether you're not going through. For some reason, 10 seconds in, you're like, oh, the first thing I said they haven't reacted well to. Yeah. And you're like, oh, I might as well just walk off stage now. This isn't happening.
Well, I got heckled immediately as I
really?
On stage. Yeah, from this guy sitting on the side. He was being disruptive the whole way through.
Right.
Just a little bit. But I think my opening line was, "Oh, hi, my name is Immigrant," and he just went, "Stop the boats!" So it started off there, and then I was like, "Oh, thanks, Uncle. He's ruined my childhood, came back to ruin my future."
So it worked in your favor.
Yeah, it worked in my favor.
That's brilliant.
He thought that it actually put fuel in the fire.
It gave you a bit of a catalyst.
Yeah.
So anyway, you're Immigrant there. You're saying, so the first question we have in this podcast is, tell us a little bit about your upbringing, and what we're looking for specifically is your first encounter of religious education or guidance, like religious education in school, or was there any religious guidance at home? Like, did you go to church, did you go to mass, stuff like that?
Well, it's very interesting because when I grew up in that transitional period of I'm from Macedonia, and then obviously it was still reliving the remnants of former Yugoslavia, which was obviously a communist federation, and Macedonia was part of that. So religion was banned. It wasn't
banned.
Yeah, religion was banned in the sense that you couldn't it's looked down upon to show support for or belief or to encourage kind of any faith-related activities, because famously communism and the church, they never saw eye to eye, and this was across other systems such as the Soviet Union as well. Blah blah blah. So growing up, I initially in school had a subject called something on the lines of how to be a good citizen, which was a hangover from Marxism, which was taught in school during the communist days. So it was a little bit of morality, but it was more like how to be a good citizen, how to contribute to the community, how to be, love the system, appreciate the system, listen to the system, and things like that.
So when you're learning that in school, are you buying into it?
Well, it was kind of broad and general, and it had some nice, interesting topics in there. Mainly, it was social behavior and psychology and things like that. And it's only after maybe a good 5-10 years after I finished school that they started introducing like theology and religious studies and etc.
So when you're teaching you to be a good citizen, is it kind of like the Ten Commandments? Are they just telling you, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal? What are they telling you?
Well, you kind of learn that from your parents, no? Your mom just throwing a slipper at your head every time you punch your brother.
Don't kill him.
I don't think we ever had anything literal quite like that. Like here are the 10 Commandments in school or anything like that. I do remember that the church was kind of on the way up when I was growing up again.
Right?
Yeah. So and Macedonia, same as Greece, Serbia, etc. in the region, they're all Orthodox.
Orthodox, okay.
So Christmas Eve is on the 6th of January. Christmas Day is on the 7th. And I mean, it's beautiful. Christmas Eve, we used to go out on the town square and there'd be a big bonfire, and people bring a lot of homemade bread and they put a lucky coin inside and they share it. And if you get the coin, you have luck for the year.
Right.
Things like
And
that.
so you did celebrate Christmas even during the communist era.
Well, I mean, I wasn't born then, but
Alright.
I assume they did. It was just like my parents, but it was just kind of more stifled.
Right.
Yeah. It wasn't, it was Happy Holidays. It wasn't Merry
It
Christmas.
wasn't Merry Christmas. And did you do you believe in God?
Every 3 months, yeah.
Every 3 months?
Every 3 or so months, I'm like, well, maybe there is a God,
What happens every 2 or 3 months?
Well, I think as artists, we're always kind of stuck in this soul-searching moment, because we're always so exploring our vulnerability. Because doing comedy, doing acting, or doing whatever, it's such a personal space. You kind of have to dive deep into and sometimes you kind of feel there is a lack of connection in that external world. So you kind of think, oh, maybe there is something there. But and then you're like, God, are you there? And then nothing happens, and you're like, okay, well.
So would you consider yourself someone who does it? Would you say you're someone who does believe in God, or would you say you're someone who doesn't believe in God then?
I would say, let's say, if I wouldn't believe in God as a physical entity,
Right.
and I definitely don't believe in something like the resurrection and things like that. But I would say that there is some sort of cosmic energy, which probably, if there is a God, it's probably every religious book they're talking about one and the same thing,
Right.
whether that's Jesus or Prophet Muhammad, etc., etc. I think there is a unification, and we just haven't quite found the term for that particle.
So there's
the God particle.
well, I thought you were going to say unification in the books. Like there's missing chapters that the books are actually all interconnected.
Well, no, the books, books like the Bible, they've added last edition was like 10th, 12th century. They kept adding letters and verses and pages and chapters to it.
Are they still adding to it? No.
I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
So you kind of
I'll
believe.
check when I start believing.
So you believe like there's a sort of a cosmic force.
Yeah, and I think that's the closest we can define God is I think, look, because one of the questions that I always end up discussing is about free will.
Right.
It's like, well, there's free will, but then God gave us free will, but then God gave us free will. Why is there so much evil in the world, and why are people so evil to each other? And really, I think having the choice, having the free will, that's either the proof that God exists, or that is as close as we are to a God.
Okay, free will. And do you think people have free will?
Absolutely.
You think, yeah,
I mean, I can't claim for certain.
people. So then why do you think
need to
people?
ask
Why do you
ChatGPT.
think people are evil? Why do you think people do bad things then?
I don't know.
Do you think
don't
people
know.
are born evil, or do you think they learn to be evil?
No, I don't think so. I don't think anyone's born evil.
You don't think anyone's born evil?
No, because even if you take, in my extended family, I have an uncle who, for example, he's got, I think he got diagnosed with schizophrenia quite young, and paranoid schizophrenia with more violent like episodes and things like that. So in essence, that was for many years treated as, oh well, there was something evil that was in his genes or something like that. I don't think it's a construct that when you get the villainous arc, when you become a villain, that's construct of society.
Because I interviewed a guy once, a criminologist, and his theory was he, not so much of people were born evil, I don't think he really believed in good and evil, but he basically said that people if you don't socialize people or you don't educate people, they will do bad things, and that actually it's through education and socialization and learning that we learn how to interact with each other harmoniously, and that a lot of people who end up going to jail and stuff like that, there's an element of lack of education or learning difficulties. So the kind of example he would give is he would say, like, if you get a group of 2-year-olds, they'll sort of hit each other and they'll take each other's stuff and that, but you tell them not to. But if you get to 16 or 17 and you still have those kind of impulses, the stakes are a lot higher. Like if a 16-year-old hits a 16-year-old and wants to hurt them,
Yeah.
it's a lot more severe than if a 2-year-old's hitting a 2-year-old and wanting to hurt the 2-year-old.
Okay, I guess I'm evil then. I'll definitely punch someone in the shoulder after basketball.
After basketball. And what do you think happens when we die then? So you've there's no physical God, but there's a cosmic force. So do you think you have like a soul?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you a weird story, and I guess we've opened that box now.
Yeah.
But when my granddad passed away, and I was in another town. This was back home. I was a student, and my mom called me, and she said, "Oh, you have to come home. You know, your granddad passed away, and blah blah blah." And then my grandma, she wanted to follow this very old tradition, which doesn't exist anymore, where they kind of bathe the body and then they put it on this long table in the living room, and then she called all his friends and neighbors, friends, whoever knew him, you know, the closest ones. And they all came, and we all had like little shots of drinks or the homemade moonshine brew or whatever was cooked that day, brewed. And you all tell good stories about the man, and so there's 12 hours of not calling the ambulance, and my granddad changing colors and all that.
And is he naked?
No, he's not naked. He's suited up. Sorry. Skip that. Oh, it's just my, granddad with a
I just had this image of this
fully
body,
erect penis.
this body turning blue, and you're like,
the last spasm just in
so
his
he dies, right? Just to get this straight, he dies. Your granny washes him, dresses him, and then lays him on the table before she calls on you.
Before she calls
and there's like, does blood not seep out of ears and noses? And
there was no,
because normally you embalm a body to prevent stuff, but maybe it doesn't always happen.
Well, I mean, I can't quite remember, but I think I got the call around 4:30 p.m.
Yeah,
I was home by 6, and he was already laid out in the suit on the table. I didn't stay for too long. I think maybe until 8:30. And then the ambulance, I think they arrived around 2 a.m.
in the morning.
Yeah.
And what age were you then?
I would have been like 19, maybe 20.
First time you saw a dead body, or?
No, second time. My other granddad sadly had a heart attack right in front of me.
Right in front of you?
Right in front of me and my brother.
And died?
And died, yes.
Unexpected?
Unexpected. Well, I mean, he had multiple sclerosis.
Right.
So he was already in a state where he forgets to go to the bathroom, and, and at first he was eating, and sometimes he even needed help to like chew. And at first we thought that he was choking. We called our grandma in, and she tried to get like a piece of bread. But it was then when the doctors came, there was stated that it was a heart attack because he wasn't moving, so there was no circulation. And
what age were you then?
I was about 7 or 8, and I mean it was just that stays with you. Yeah,
that's horrific.
Yeah, I just saw him going, like he went full like pink, blue, and then just gone, just pale.
Dead. That's I'd say that's quite an unusual thing for someone to experience at that age.
Yeah, and what are the chances? Me and my brother used to go, because this is my mom's dad.
Right.
So we didn't live with them. So my mom would send us for 10 days every summer to go with them, so they can get rid of us.
Yeah.
And it happened in one of those 10 days where, so it's
so you're 7. So what did you think then as a 7-year-old? What did you think happened then with him? Did you think he was gone to heaven, or did you just think, oh, that's just it?
To be honest, when I saw that, that's when there's something in my brain that cemented as, this is it. It's so final. And it's so final that you like, there's nothing after this. This is just maybe there is, it's because you see all that pain, and then suddenly that pain leaves the body. So people like to comfort themselves by saying, "Oh well, there's something more," because it can't be it. You just die a death and then it's gone. But the impression it left on me is like, fuck me, that's he looked pretty final. I mean, he's dead. He's dead. Like, there's I fully came in here not expecting to even. This memory was so back in my head. I haven't thought about this in years. So,
So you're like that's it. So then you.
But then what happened with my other granddad, the one to come back to, is after the ambulance came and then they took everything and we did the funeral. My granddad, so my dad's dad, the one who was living with us in the house, he was a staunch like socialist and made fun of religion the whole time. Like that was one of his running jokes. And me and my brother once definitely heard footsteps the first or the second night after. And we started having this whole conversation about how, or maybe because, he was mocking God his whole life, now his soul is kind of trapped
In purgatory. Purgatory, yeah.
Even though in Orthodoxy there's no purgatory, but that somehow, the soul is trapped because there's no. And there was some weird things that happened. We definitely heard the footsteps because we were both on the first floor. We both had separate rooms, and we were both video gamers at the time. We were playing video. And it was like very late at night, and I definitely heard footsteps, and I looked out my door, and my brother was on the other side also looking. So we were both like, "Did you?" Yes, I did. And then the next day, I think I was going to school somewhere. The light bulb at the front door had burst, which, I mean, that light bulb was as old as me. It was at the time, for like years and years. So there was something funny going on, and then my mom insisted on bringing a priest, Orthodox priest, to bless the house and basically to bless the soul for the journey onwards.
Right.
And I don't know if it was the nice incense candlesticks that the priests have or the smoke or whatever, but it kind of felt like that energy kind of dispersed, or at least that's how I interpreted it. Because then everything stopped, the footsteps and the strange things going around with,
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So then I'd say, did your parents then believe in like afterlife and God and all that? Because you're saying your mother got the priest over, so that shows some kind of.
Well, I think my mom believes out of fear.
Right.
The older she gets, the more it's like, oh, well, maybe there is a God. I don't know how much I messed up. It's better to believe than not to believe.
Well,
in case there is.
This is it. This is what that's what a lot of people say.
Whereas my dad is I mean, he's a full-on Christian.
Oh, he's full-on Christian.
Yeah.
So
he wasn't before. He was a big atheist,
right,
according to my mom, for long until his late 30s, early 40s.
What happened? What changed?
Well, he describes it as he had a calling from God.
Okay.
Which is what some priests describe as well as why they take up the service of the Lord.
Yeah.
And all that. But yeah, it's he had like a moment of epiphany, he says, where he basically had that calling and just has read the Bible 20 times over since then. Started going to church, started doing all of that.
And what like how did that manifest itself? Did he's just got out of bed and he was like, oh.
I think it took a moment. I think it was over a few years.
Yeah.
He had quite a lot of like rough childhood growing up.
Right.
And he told me that he spent most of his 20s making mistakes.
Right.
And when he told me first, I was like, mistakes, okay. I was taking mistakes like, I don't know, ended up cheating on your first girlfriend or something.
Yeah.
But I think, he was thinking about more serious mistakes, like,
right,
gambling his money away or spending a night in jail over a bar fight. And, just generally always being on the wrong side a little bit. And I think maybe that came from wanting to change who he is.
So maybe it came from an element of reflectivity. Is that a right kind of word?
Yeah.
And he might have saw that how his behavior changed. There must have been an external force that helped him.
Absolutely. I mean, he had a difficult. He's used to be a chronic alcoholic. His He's been in recovery now for 17 years. He hasn't drank a drop. But he did. I think that he had a small business, and I think that potentially the drinking ruined his business. So
Right.
he had a difficult relationship with alcohol, and I think all of that combined, once he had time to think, once he was out of rehab and in sobriety, I think he kind of had that calling. I guess it was a culmination of
All those things.
yeah,
That's pretty interesting.
yeah.
That is pretty interesting. Okay, here's one for you, right?
Or maybe he was just relieved that his dad.
Was it around the same time? Was it around
Now
the same
that I
time?
think of it, more or less, yeah, a little bit later, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And
Sorry,
his dad was the one who didn't believe in God.
Yeah.
Okay, so that influence has
Yeah.
gone away, and suddenly now he's thinking for himself maybe a bit more.
Well, no, he was always interested in philosophy. He's an avid book reader.
Right.
So, any ideas that he would get from books he was reading in the 70s or 80s, whatever was popular at the time, it was all about, because religion was such a norm back then. So, and philosophers are famously want to break the status quo.
Right.
So they want to break that normative traditionalist view. So I think as a student, he was influenced by philosophy mainly to look at religion in a critical kind of way.
Okay.
But then when he became later, maybe he knew himself a bit more. So he thought, oh, maybe they go side by side. Maybe why not? I can be a philosopher.
Parked the rational thinking and went
Yeah.
more with the emotional thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a question for you. Let's just assume, let's just pretend there is a God and there is a heaven and there's the whole lot, and you die and
And if there's a hell, is it Dante's?
there's Dante's
Seven Circles.
Dante's poem.
We're all going in the second, I think.
So you're at the gates of heaven. God is there, and God says to you, "Listen, Vlad, give me 3 reasons why I should let you into heaven. Give me 3 good things you did while you were alive that you feel warrant your admission to heaven."
I tried to save my granddad
When you were 7.
when I was 7.
What did you do to save him?
Well, I mean, my grandma thought he was choking, so I went to get water. That was my first instinct.
Right.
So I ran and I got some water. I mean, that didn't help. I'm trying to find a good reason why God would think.
That's
Don't you think? But don't you think God? Why would God ask you that? Because
well, it's a hypothetical.
All right,
It's
yeah,
a
yeah,
hypothetical
you're right.
question, you know.
because he would think like, oh, isn't that bragging? Isn't that isn't that sinful? I don't know.
So you've never done anything good in your life? Is that what you're trying to say, Vlad?
I'm trying to get away from. No, well, okay. Can we put that down as a first?
Okay, you tried to have It's not a great piece of evidence, but if you can go with it.
I help there's a few friends that I have back home. They're always, economic situation is quite tough there. So I do, I help them out financially.
Financially, okay.
Yeah. So I send, money for birthdays and Christmas. And
Okay, that's
and
a decent, nice thing to do.
Anyway, I pay for my dad's meds.
There you
there
go.
you go.
That's
3.
That's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good. And you pay for that. So what do what's the economic situation like in Macedonia? Is it how is it comparable to the UK?
Well, I mean, it's a little bit better now.
Is
But,
it?
Yeah, it used to be pretty bad. I mean, average salary when I left was about 200 euros a month.
200 euros a month.
Yeah.
And what would the average rent be?
Rent would be like 100 euros, and then food and groceries. I mean, most people would. I mean, they would be living in debt.
So it's kind of living in debt, and kind of you're living. What I suppose, what do you call it? Hand to mouth? Is that what you call it? Like you're just basically getting enough to survive. There's no holidays. There's no.
No, absolutely.
There's no kind of.
I mean, we didn't go. Once I was 14, and me and my brother we were complaining to our parents that all our peers they were going on holiday.
Yeah.
We had a lot of rich kids in class going skiing in Serbia and whatnot, and we were like, we want to go on holiday. And my mom was always like, everything was a life lesson.
Right.
She's like, oh, you want a holiday? You want to be like the rich kids? You want a holiday? And she sent us to a Serbian monastery in the mountains.
Right.
Where we had to work for bed and breakfast.
Right.
And I mean, it was like hard labor. It wasn't
Yeah.
like clean the windows. It was like go down and dig with the construction workers, dig the canal because they need to get water to the monastery.
So you're staying in a monastery. So was there mass? Did you have to go to mass and stuff?
Liturgy, yeah.
Liturgy, right? And what did you think of that at the time? Did that give you any inclination? Were you into it
It gave me suicidal thoughts. It gave me, man, Orthodox liturgy. First of all, it starts at like 6:30
in the evening?
in a.m.
Oh, in the morning.
Yeah, and liturgy in general in Orthodox culture is leans a bit more towards preserving the ancient text and the traditional texts.
Okay.
So it's not an experimental religion like maybe the Protestant or the Methodist religion. So you'd be sitting there, and they'd be doing the liturgy in old Slavonic language.
Okay.
So completely understandable. Ununderstandable.
So you don't know what
co-
they're saying,
Not at all. Not like archaic language from the 14th century. You know, all these sacred texts or whatever.
right?
And it's a good 2-3 hours. And you're
2-3 hours.
yeah, and you're standing there the whole time.
you're not
There's
sitting
nowhere
down.
to sit down. You're in a small chapel. You're standing with a fucking candle burning in your hand.
Jesus, is that a thriving religion or
What religion?
thriving? Is it popular?
Well, I mean, it's huge in Eastern Europe, and I think a few countries in Africa as well. Eritreans are, I think, are Orthodox, but yeah, it is coming up now.
So you like say you're an Orthodox and you're a regular attender. What, you go once a week, or you go once a week for 2 to 3 hours, and you stand up and you listen to people speak in a language that's incomprehensible.
Look, when we were sent to the monastery, we were obviously forced to.
Yeah.
There was no choice because, there's 100 people. They know who you are if you hide. But no, I mean, most people skip the liturgy on Sundays.
Oh, okay.
Like if you go weekly.
Right, to go weekly.
Yeah, no. You come for the end.
Come for the end.
Yeah, you come at the last 45 minutes or last 20 minutes.
Right.
You do your little bit. You have one candle. You buy 2 candles. You light one up. You put it for the living, one
Right.
for the dead. You go and you kiss the cross, and you do the whole body and.
You get communion. You do get communion.
Yeah, you get communion.
All right.
And then you go under a table. You have to go under a table. Is that a thing in Catholic?
No, never heard that.
It's the passage, basically. It's a metaphor for the passage.
Well, there's an interesting thing because Catholic Mass used to be in Latin, and then they changed it to English or Italian or whatever the language of the country was. And I think I read once where mass attendance reduced after that, and some people think it would have when it was in Latin and people didn't really understand what was being said. There was more mystery to it, and it was more intriguing to people than when they actually know what's being said.
Well, I mean, the iconography is fantastic. You go to any monastery, the iconoclastic figures in the glass, all this Orthodox. The juxtaposition of the statues is so colorful. It's very unlike anything else I've seen. So that is really enjoyable. But the actual liturgy is like it's like talking Elvish or something.
Sounds bizarre. And the standing up.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
standing
mean?
up
Like
is-
it's 6:30 in the morning too. You'd be
Yeah, there's no. I mean, at least where I grew up and when I went to church, and even when I go home, the church that is nearest to me.
yeah.
There's no benches there. You just standing.
And do you like it? Do you like the architecture and the art of a church? Would you go into? Do you go if you were
Oh,
away on holidays?
absolutely.
Would you go into churches and have a look?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to live in Malta as well. They're obsessed with the churches there. There's so much to see in there. Yeah.
In Malta, I've been to Malta. Yeah. The churches are lovely there.
Yeah.
Now here's another one for you. Right.
So does that count as 3 good things, right? The meds, the gifts.
They're not the best answers in the world. I'm gonna be honest with you.
What did you expect? When I said
I've been doing it. I've recorded a few episodes of this already, and if I'm honest, the first episode we had was Ali Woods, and he struggled a little bit with the questions. But in hindsight, looking back of the guests I've had since then, Ali Woods was like Mother Teresa compared to everybody else.
Oh, wow.
Do you know what I
Well,
mean?
he's lying.
He
He's
genuinely
lying.
he genuinely had one or two. He had done 1 or 2 things that I would say that's pretty good. But I have to be send the money back home. I think is a very decent. I think that's a strong one. That's a very good one. So we're just imagine, right? So God exists, right?
So you're saying I've got the shittiest good thing.
No, no, oh no, no.
Listen,
Listen. You're definitely not. You're definitely not the worst. Like you can imagine, Darius Davis, he struggled to but so imagine now, so God exists, and God says to you, He says, Vlad, you can be reincarnated, and you can live another life. You can live a second life, right? But you have to change one aspect. Now you can change more than one aspect, but you have to change one aspect of your race, gender, or sexuality. What would you change and why?
So it's still me.
Still you.
It's not like a different person.
It's not like a different person. Still you. Similar strengths and weaknesses. Like you're not a stronger person. You're not a more successful person. You're you, but you're going to change one aspect of your gender, race, or sexuality.
Well, this is a very interesting question, but also very difficult because obviously I don't have any hindsight. I don't have any. This is the only context I know.
Yeah, but it's the only context anyone knows.
Guy.
Yeah, it's the only context anyone knows.
I think I'll change my race.
You change your race?
Yeah.
What to?
I want to be Mexican.
You want to be Mexican? You would rather be you're going to come back as a Mexican person?
Mexican or Latin, Hispanic.
Latin, Hispanic. Okay, we go Mexican. Let's go Mexican. And what do you think would be different about your life if you were Mexican? What do you think? What kind of challenges do you think it would pose that you don't currently face? Or?
Well, actually, I chose it because of the similarities.
Okay.
Because I find Balkan and Mexican culture very, very similar.
Really?
Yeah. Well, for example, we have something called a zadushnica, which is a night of the souls, and in Mexico there is the
Day of the Dead.
The Day of the Dead.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of very similar kind of traditions, which are also kind of based around the family table. So if anything, I recognize myself in some part of Mexican culture.
In Mexican culture. And have you been to Mexico?
No, never. This is all. I've read a lot of Instagram comments from Mexican people, and I'm like,
you're like they're my people. They're my people. That's where I belong. I've been to Mexico a lot because my girlfriend's Mexican.
Yeah, I know.
So I've been a good lad. I suppose the Mexican culture is very Catholic. That's because I would see its similarities with Ireland because it is very like a lot of things based around Catholicism. And then I suppose with the Balkans, it's quite macho too. Mexico, it's quite the man is the the
strong man.
The strong man.
They respect strength.
The patriarchy, the father figure is very strong.
Well, don't say I chose it because of that.
Well,
It makes me sound like a sexist. I walked into this one. There was no right answers.
Yeah, like that's the race for me. And what do you think then? Would what about the racism? Like so if you were going about your day-to-day business, do you think you get much racism as a Mexican person?
100%. That's why I would be a Mexican who'd never go to America.
You wouldn't go to
No,
America.
I don't. That'll piss me off on a regular basis.
Right.
No, I'm probably gonna be one of these Mexicans who stay in Mexico, stay with my own people, or just go to another country that doesn't have a white majority population.
right. And
I'll be staying with my own people.
You stay with your own people.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't change your gender. You wouldn't rather come back as a woman.
Well, I've hearing what women go through that doesn't actually encourage me to go that way. I'm pretty sure there's caveats and there's a lot of nice things, obviously, to being a woman. But it sounds very stressful.
Go on. How does it sound stressful?
Well, mainly because of men. So there's gonna be a lot of situations where, I've heard from a lot of women where they're walking down the street and there's a guy walking, they have to cross the street and they have to think about getting home late at night and all this. I'm like, I don't want to be thinking about that the whole time.
Yeah, there's that element of you have to be security conscious.
Yeah,
a lot.
Just
constantly.
Yeah.
That
Even with your partner, just the idea that we obviously can't feel because normally your woman is smaller in stature than you.
Yeah,
You know,
but
you
mine,
don't
mine
think-
isn't.
I'm already thinking about my 6'6" boyfriend choking me out or something a bit too strong while I ask him to slap me and call me a good slut.
Yeah, so you have to, jeez. So you have to be, you have to be a little bit more security conscious. And then, what do you think about if you were a different sexuality? Do you think if you were gay, it'd be, what do you think the challenges there would be?
Well, I think this is furthest away from my knowledge,
Right.
in the sense that I have, very little knowledge of that world. Obviously, I have friends who are bisexual, who are gay, but it's an experience furthest away from who I am. So I don't know. Maybe like a wild card. Let's see how the Mexican thing goes. And if
Go
not,
with the Mexican
I'll
thing
go
first.
with a gay
But
Mexican.
in Macedonia, is it safe to be gay? Is there a gay scene in Macedonia?
It's coming up now
Yeah.
a little bit. There is a bit of a. I think they did the gay parade a few years running.
Okay, right, they have a gay pride. and stuff.
But I think generally it's there is still a sort of a lack of logical space for communities that might be different from the mainstream.
So it'd be, if you're a gay Macedonian, you're probably thinking of leaving, are you?
Well, not necessarily leaving, but you wouldn't be too loud about it.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Mex-
eventually you're gonna run into.
Mexico City has a very liberal gay
Oh, does it?
scene. Yeah. Which sort of kind of surprised you a little bit, because you think of Mexico, it's been quite conservative, and it's very. Very, like, you'll see people kissing, but Mexican people will kiss too on the street. That's kind of weird. Like, I remember you being in Mexico City, and
Why is that weird?
well,
What do you mean?
honestly, no. Tell me if you don't think this is weird, because you wouldn't see this in
Go
London,
outside
right?
King's Cross
No,
Station.
no.
anytime.
I'm not messing. Right, rush hour, right, Monday to Thursday, right. I remember being in the middle of Mexico City, and you're waiting at like a traffic lights to cross the road for the green man, right? And there's a middle-aged man and woman beside me, snog in the face of each other. Do you know what I mean? Like, you see that in Mexico. You don't really see that here. You might see it late at night when people are drinking, but like middle of the day.
Oh, you don't see him?
Yeah.
Maybe you need to move to Shoreditch, man.
Sure, you see
You're
people
seeing
just
all
snogging
sorts,
it,
yeah.
but also just they're just waiting for the traffic,
Right.
Do you know what I
they're
mean?
not.
It's just, I remember just thinking it was bizarre, but I saw it a few times.
Well, I like that. I think passionate kissing is important. Keeping the love alive.
Keeping the love alive, anywhere, anytime. Do you know?
I mean, the wildest thing I've seen is in Prague.
In
Hands
Prague?
down, hands down.
Go on.
Every time I've been to Prague, there's been people literally fucking outside the metro.
Really?
Yeah, just having sex right there on the steps of the entrance to an underground station.
I was only in Prague once, but I was there and it was freezing. Like,
Yeah.
it was far colder than I was expecting, and I barely went outside.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? I got over there and I was like, Jesus Christ, I haven't brought the clothes for this.
that'll be my second option if I don't work out as a Mexican,
You
as a
Czechoslovakia.
gay Czech.
A gay Czech in Prague.
There we go.
Now you're talking. Now we're cooking. I knew it. I knew we'd get there eventually.
Stage name Vlad the Impaler.
Vlad the Impaler. And here's another one then for you, right? So the Pope, I don't think it's the current Pope. I think Pope Francis. I don't know if he's the current Pope or not. But
Yeah.
Pope Francis and the Dalai Lama both said at one time that they believed humor brings people closer to God. So would you say, in your time doing comedy and making people laugh and bringing humor to the world, do you think that has brought you closer to God?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, I think if there is a God, that's as close as you can get, as a comedian, at least.
Yeah.
I think there is, because if God is everywhere, then in sharing the joy, God is there. God is there. God is sharing a tragedy. In all those little moments, I think that's where the real greatness of God is. If there is a God.
Because there is something that happens in comedy that sometimes when you do a gig, and it's not necessarily you, it can be some of the other acts, something happens that just doesn't measure up don't know if I can try to explain this. Sometimes there's a bond between the performer and the audience, and there's a connectivity of energy and laughter
Yeah.
that almost doesn't, like, something happens that it doesn't feel like the sum of it. It doesn't compute. Like,
Yeah.
for example, eh, I'm explaining this very badly. Like,
No, no,
you're standing on stage,
Mm.
you're saying words, right, and people are responding and they're laughing,
Yeah.
right? But sometimes it feels like it elevates. There's an alchemy where it
Yeah.
kind of elevates above that.
Yeah.
It feels like something bigger than that has just happened.
Yeah.
There's almost like an energy in it, because you're not playing music. Like, you don't have an instrument.
Yeah.
You're not really. How do all this energy just gets conjured up.
Yeah.
Does sometimes. It just doesn't make sense, and I think there's a kind of a magic in that.
Oh, absolutely.
And maybe there's a bit of that, a force of nature there, because it can be like, for example, you could say the same jokes 10 nights in a row, and there's that one night where the reaction and the response,
It just takes a whole
yeah,
on a different level. Yeah.
and something can happen. Like, I remember once doing a set, and in the middle of the set, like, a truck went by and hooted its horn, but it was in time with everything that was happening in the room, and everyone realized that.
Yeah.
There's kind of a serendipity, like there's a sort of a magic there, and I think that's the most addictive part of comedy.
Absolutely. Well, the same way that you have individual chemistry with a person,
Yeah.
let's say, which is also, to some extent, sure, biologists or doctors can explain, oh, well, it's just your dopamine and serotonin, and you smelling their DNA and it matches their physio or whatever. Whatever they say.
Yeah.
There's also, a bit of magic. And I think in a group setting, there's definitely more than just, like, let's say, even when something big happens, or I don't know, let's say a very famous person who's very loved in a
Right.
certain country, like a singer or something, let's say they die, you just even if you're alone in a room that day, you can feel the general mood, because the entire nation is feeling down. You kind of feel the energy, which is, it's a strange thing how that just emanates. Now I'm not saying that there's any connection, but storytelling, like what we do in comedy, is it's the heart of humanity. Because when we were still, in little tribes, there was one autistic man probably around the fire, who stands in the middle of the circle and he's telling a story. And back then they used to tell a story based on, they had the drums, because the drum was beating on the same beat as your heart. That's how they learned drumming.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. And they would drum while you were telling the story.
Yeah, because and the whole point was to kind of everyone to come in the same frequency, in the same rhythm, and that creates some sort of synergy,
Right.
which we've never really explained. And I think because we didn't need to explain, it's something you feel. You feel
it,
connected.
yeah.
You feel it. So certainly there's an aspect of God there.
There's an aspect of God there. Yeah, because in Irish history, the Shanachie, the storyteller, was the most revered and important member of the community.
There would be like a guy in a pub with a little guitar.
Well, no, just I think it's even before pubs. Like, it was just there was a guy who told stories. Like, he would collect stories and he would tell stories, and his job, his role within the community was to sit down by the fire and tell people stories. Like, and
How cool is that?
yeah, the Shanachie.
Can I change my race? Is it too late?
That's funny.
Doesn't matter sexuality.
You're going for that now. So then, would you, if you were to give someone like a moral message, what kind of moral message would you give to people? What kind of moral message would you kind of live by? Do you have any morals that you live by, or?
I mean, I have plenty. I think it's hard to kind of boil it down in a.
You wouldn't write them down. Number 1, number 2, number
words.
10. The 10.
Well,
The 10.
can I send you an email after the podcast? Well, I think, I don't know if this is moral or just practical. I think a lot of times people find themselves in situations where they don't want to be, or they generally don't know how to appreciate what they already have. I think if you are in a tough spot, then a lot of people try to imagine being somewhere else.
Right.
I think the lesson there, or at least that I've learned, growing up in quite a turbulent time, then when I was 7, war broke out in Macedonia. Poverty, no jobs, massive corruption scandals, all of that, is just to kind of make the best you can out of the tools you have at your disposal. Not something that's 10 years away or 5, but something that you can do now.
Right.
That can take you out of that place and make you a better person
So
tomorrow.
a lot of people turn to religion when times are tough. Like when their life is difficult, they'll turn to God or turn to religion. What would you turn to when things are tough? Like when you were growing up in war and all that was going on, like what was your kind of...
Well, I mean, I think that's kind of that, because that's something you don't have control over. That's something that you can like either think about or say a prayer about, but then you're the one who has to actually do the practical thing, which is to be empathic and have sympathy and smile at people and show goodwill,
Right.
and then hopefully that whole thing, you're sending good energy out, and hopefully you're praying, you're thinking, I hope it reaches you, God, because then it can reach everyone else.
And then so kind of be positive. That sort of thing.
Except for those 2 NATO soldiers that stole my cigarette.
NATO soldiers stole your cigarette.
Well, I mean, we bought it as a group.
You bought a cigarette as a group.
Well, yeah. Back then, you could
you could buy single cigarettes.
A piece. Yeah, you can buy a piece. So we bought 3 cigarettes, which cost us about 10 dinars, which is about a sixth of a euro.
Right.
Which was a lot of money back then.
3 cigarettes, right?
Yeah. And our school was patrolled by a NATO unit. It was a Humvee. They had a Humvee, and it was 2 NATO soldiers. And basically, I mean, we were all hopefully my mom won't see this, but we were all 7 and 8.
8?
Yeah, and we
You're smoking at 7 or 8?
Well, we'll share, like 10 of us. We share 1 cigarette.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Your life when you were 7, you witnessed someone die in front of you. You're smoking cigarettes. Jesus Christ.
Hey, everybody was smoking.
So you're passing around cigarettes, and these soldiers come over and they took the cigarettes off you.
Well, yeah, they kind of scolded us, and they were like,
"Oh, they gave out to you?"
Yeah.
And took the cigarettes off you.
Yeah. So we were all, obviously, we thought that we were being very secret.
Right.
But we were basically in a big group just outside school and just like huffing and puffing and be like...
So when you hear Trump is trying to just get rid of NATO, you're like, yeah. Fuck you.
No, and especially because one of them was Danish.
Danish, okay.
Yeah, so when Trump wanted to buy Denmark, I was like, yeah.
And did they smoke the cigarettes? I
don't know.
You don't know.
I can't remember. I mean, they kind of just... I guess they scrunched them up. I don't know.
So you soldiers outside your school?
Soldiers outside my school, yeah. Those regular patrols. Just they were basically the situation was escalating on the suburbs of town and in the nearby villages.
Oh, right.
So NATO, UN troops. There was at the time a unit called Kosovo Force. They were all sent just around like the main buildings in the town, just to make sure kids don't get hurt, and things like schools and hospitals. And things
so
like that.
who was going around? Who was fighting? What was was it Serbians?
No.
Who was in Macedonia?
Do you have
a
shot of vodka in about 3 hours?
Okay, right. So my basic understanding is essentially Serbians were fighting Croats. Is that kind of...
Serbians were fighting Croats in Bosnia.
In Bosnia, right.
And they were also fighting Bosniaks. And then Croats were fighting Bosniaks.
So who's fighting in Macedonia? Who's in Macedonia?
So Serbia was... once Bosnia wrapped up, then Serbia was fighting Kosovo.
Right.
And then people from Kosovo fled to Macedonia.
Right.
Some of the people that fled were part of the resistance, the Kosovo resistance against Serbs.
Right. So the Serbs are coming in to kill the Kosovans in Macedonia.
No. This is why I don't want to get into this.
Oh, God. All right, go on.
Because okay.
Just a quick kind of.
So the Serbs and the Kosovars are
Yeah.
fighting,
Yeah.
and then a lot of Kosovo people flee to Macedonia.
Macedonia.
Some of the people that flee are Kosovo fighters. They come into the Macedonia and they start an insurgency
In Macedonia. Against the Macedonians.
against the Macedonians.
Ah.
Because Macedonia, Serbia, that was all part of Yugoslavia. So they
So Macedonia is on the side of the Serbs then, essentially.
no. There was no.
Side.
It's kind of tough. Serbia and Macedonia never attacked each other, but there wasn't like an alliance of Macedonia and Serbia.
Okay, so let's work backwards, right? So you got these NATO guys, they're guarding your school, right?
Yeah.
Who could come along that could shoot at the school or drop a bomb or
Well, the insurgents,
the Kosovoan insurgents?
yeah, but I think they were worried that if the front lines were pushed, they were just worried that there'll be open fire between the Macedonian army and the insurgent army somewhere near school.
Right.
So they're not there to take sides. They're neutral.
They're
just
neutral,
there-
yeah.
They're just there to protect
the
Yeah,
civilians
Yeah,
or
exactly.
something like that. Okay, right.
Yeah. So
And when you're young and you're 7, like, do you believe in a God? You don't believe in a God then. Let me get this right. So you're growing up in a communist thing. So they're telling you to be a good citizen and whatever, right?
yeah.
But they're not telling you that there's a God watching us. So we're being told not to do bad things because God is watching you, and if you do bad things, He'll see it, He'll know, and there will be a spiritual consequence. Like you go to hell when you die. So when you're young and they're telling you to be a good citizen, do you believe there's a consequence to doing something bad if no one sees it?
Yeah, because the substitute that my parents gave me instead of God was Santa Claus.
Right.
So Santa was a bigger deal for me when I was 7.
So Santa's playing the God role.
Yeah.
So
Santa
if
was
you
pretty much God for me.
if you're bad, Santa won't give you presents.
Yeah, Santa
Right.
will give you presents and he's looking down.
Then you get beyond that part, right?
Yeah.
And so after the Santa disappears, then do people believe there's a consequence to doing bad things?
Well, absolutely, but I don't think that.
Not a cosmic maybe consequence.
Oh, right, like
Yeah.
some sort of. No, I mean I definitely didn't understand it at the time. Obviously I was raised in a way where I was told not to do bad things,
Yeah.
and there was some similar phrase of that caliber, like, oh, if you do bad will come back to you.
Okay.
My grandma, she was very superstitious, so you can't, if you cross under like a big sign, if you can't don't go under things on the street.
A ladder.
Yeah.
Ladder, don't go under a
Yeah.
ladder.
And some other silly things, like if someone is like, let's say you're chilling on the floor right now,
Yeah.
and then if I step over your legs, that means you're not gonna grow tall. Some silly things
Right.
for when I was a kid.
So there's all these superstitions.
So there was all this superstition.
Superstition.
Yeah. So definitely, that God was involved in that.
In
all
that.
yeah.
So to summarize, then, how you see yourself as an agnostic? Then would that be?
I think no. I think nowadays I'm floating more the idea of God than ever before.
Really?
Yeah.
And what do you think has brought that on?
Age, wisdom, experience, and lack of
Ego?
lack of ego. Yeah, maybe even
Really?
lack of ego. I wouldn't necessarily say lack of ego. I think more being able to say, "Oh, I don't need to understand God in the same way that it's presented to me."
Right.
God is a personal thing. God is not in the church for me. God is in the heart.
It's a feeling.
Yeah. So whenever I feel that presence, then that means that's my sermon to God, or that's my relationship with God, and I don't have to pretend to justify it or not or whatever. I don't need to.
So
Yeah.
so to conclude, really, the communists failed. The communists failed. They couldn't quench the God in you.
Yeah, the thirst.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
And I think on that note, we'll end it. Just before we go, thanks a million for coming on this, Vlad. It
Thanks
really,
for having me. It's been very enjoyable. I found out a lot about myself.
well, I don't know if that was my intention, but I've got there.
I'm gonna go live out my days as a non-binary Mexican bisexual.
And I'll just say that if this is probably air maybe January, February time, is there anything you want to plug? You have a website or you do a podcast. You're doing a podcast too yourself. Is there anything you want to tell people to watch?
Yeah, well, yeah, my podcast is actually launching in January, so probably launched by this time.
stage?
Yeah, and it's called The Immigrant in the Attic.
The Immigrant in the Attic.
And it's filmed in the attic. I'm the immigrant, and I invite other guests to talk about their experience moving from all different countries in the world in London.
All right, so they're all people who aren't from London who came
aren't
to live
from
in
London.
Okay, very
And
good.
occasionally we have the token, British person or
Don't be pointing at me and saying British. I
I was gonna say Irish. If you just gave me a second.
You know, I can see why those Kosovoans. I'm on the Kosovo side now, so
Okay, we're cutting that bit. Or Irish, and I asked them if they can, complain about the immigrants.
You get the immigrants on to complain about the immigrants. No, you get the British people on to complain.
Yeah,
about
immigrants are allowed to complain about British people, and then British people come on and they're like, "Oh, American tourists on the tube."
Okay.
Well, I mean, that's what I expect them to say. I don't expect them to come on and go, "Actually, these Romanians
coming over here, coming over. Very good. Well,
And
anyway,
you can follow me at Vlad Impaler on Instagram.
Vlad Impair. It's been lovely talking to you, and thanks a million for coming on British Comedian of the Year 2025.
Thank you very much, Jack.